2.5 years ago, I embarked on a special journey. I decided to carve out my own little slice of the American dream. And I started my own business. And being a satellite engineer at the time, I did what came naturally to me. I started a tea company. And while this was extremely exciting, this tea company, at the very beginning, it went from a Keurig machine that my mother bought me on Valentine's Day to the idea of putting honey and tea together into a K-cup, to launching, to building prototypes and getting this great feedback from my coworkers, to eventually launching a successful Kickstarter campaign, getting into Amazon Prime, and then even getting onto the shelves at Whole Foods. And while this was really, really exciting, that excitement kind of wore off after a while. And I was left wondering, how do I grow my company to the next level? How do I get to these unrealistic kind of revenue goals that a lot of startups are pressured in? And I felt like I was almost programmed to go down a certain road. We see online, we all read about companies like Uber and Facebook, and we all watch shows like Shark Tank, right? Where we see these people go in front and get all these money. So I naturally kind of thought that what I should be doing, why I wasn't successful, why I hadn't become a tea millionaire overnight, was because I hadn't raised money, because I wasn't pitching. And something even kind of worse happened, where I started to equate my success to raising money, to getting investors. And I can say that after 1.5 years of pitching and going to these pitch events with my high hopes of, this time I'm going to meet that investor. This time I'm going to see that and meet that person that shares my vision for my company and knows that True Honey Teas is about to be a big thing. It never happened. So I just did something simple. I just stopped pitching. And something amazing happened to me at the same time. After one of these failed pitching events, I had the opportunity to go to a talk by a founder of one of the largest natural bottled tea beverages in the world. You can guess who that is. And at this talk, he kept reinforcing this one principle that he held from the very beginning. He kept saying that every time someone would come to him with a distraction, or why don't you do this in your business, or why don't you do that business, he would just go back and look at this person, and he would say, I could do that, except my job is to sell tea. And every time someone's asking me to do something extra or different, it distracts me from selling tea. And for me, this unveiled this blatantly obvious truth that my job was to sell tea, sales. My job wasn't to pitch investors and raise money or convince everyone that I was the next thing in bee sustainability and that our job was to save the bees. And while that all sounded great, my job was to sell tea. My job was to sell tea. And a lot of startups, and especially in the startup community, there's this immense pressure right now that we almost feel obligated that our new ventures, our new ideas that we create, that we almost have to start to pitch them, that we have to start raising money. Entrepreneurs right now especially, they are starting to, a lot of them are feeling, as I did, where raising money is kind of how we're gauging the success of our venture. And we're so busy asking how we can pitch and where we can pitch that we're not stepping back and asking the very fundamental question, should we be pitching at all? And there's more than this. There is a confusion that happens when you start to go out there early on and you try to raise money for your company. And this confusion happens in a few ways. Firstly, not every company is a billion-dollar company. And at the beginning, we're so excited about our venture, we think it can do anything. And when we start pitching especially, we start convincing ourselves that what we're doing, what we can do, we have to convince these people we're pitching to that what we're going to do is huge. That's going to be the next billion-dollar idea. When along this path, we lose this mentality of profitability. We lose and we forget about these small ways that we can make money along the way to grow our business slowly but profitably. There is no shame in being a $10 million company or a $5 million company or even only a $1 million company. But we kind of forget that when we're pitching because we want to be the next Uber. And the second reason that is kind of distracting is we start to seek validation in the wrong places. When we start pitching and we go on this pitch circuit, as I did for a long period of time, we start looking at these 3 or 4 people that we're talking to, respected people in the business community. However, they are not our customers. They are just someone who we're trying to convince to give us money. And when you keep doing this over and over and over again, you get confused that they are your customer. And your business and everything you start doing and talking about and the philosophy of your business starts revolving around making these 3 or 4 wealthy, influential people happy, when that is not what really creates core value. Businesses, we should be focused when we're early on, and we shouldn't forget our customers. So the solution to a lot of these confusions that we have in the startup world, and a lot of this confusion that pitching can happen, is actually just as simple as my realization that my job was to sell tea. And that is, when we come up with our ideas, we need to step back and find out a way to implement them and get to a sales. Sales is what is important. When we look at what the American dream is, it's to start a business. And today, more than ever, we have the resources to start our businesses ourselves. The internet has opened up a plethora of resources for us. We can make almost anything nowadays. From any hardware idea, you can go to maker spaces to prototype them. There's contract manufacturers around the entire world. There's websites that will design almost any piece of software for us. There's websites that will help us find marketing representatives and accountants and all of these different people who are needed to help make any idea, product, or service. They are now accessible on a low level for low cost. And even more importantly, we have the lowest barrier to entry for sales channels, essentially places where we can present our product or service to the customers directly than ever before. Pitching, in many ways, could be considered the old model. Sorry for all venture capitalists out there in the audience. Where we used to need these venture capitalists because to access customers and access these sales channels, it required these large sums of money to build your idea and to get it out there and to get it listed on some service or get it on some store shelf where someone could actually start buying it. But no more. Amazon is free to sign up, and that gives you access to millions and millions of customers. Going back to my early days of pitching, I was almost lucky that I never raised money, because that first time when I first introduced my product into Whole Foods, as it turned out, people didn't like the taste of that quality of tea very much. That honey tea wasn't overly popular. And it was this interaction with the customers and this direct sampling and feedback that I did that ended up making my product better in the end. And that is the unofficial benefit of just starting to implement your idea, that you get this natural feedback, that interaction with the marketplace ends up making your product better. It gives you new ideas. You find new ways and new places to place and sell your products. And you start really developing products and services that are customer-driven around what we want, not these overly glorified ideas that we just figure out how to make money from later on. So for every entrepreneur, maker, artist, and inventor out there, the idea that I want to spread forward is simply stop pitching your American dream and start making and selling your American dream. Thank you.